Hi, Dragons. So we're on to a new topic of relationships and communication. So we learned in the last segment about the different types of love and the different types of relationships and the different types of patterns that you have in intimate relationships. And again, I'm going to post this and put some stuff on the forum so that you can communicate, your reactions to this. So communications in romantic relationships or in relationships. So communication is key, right? So when you get into a relationship, you really have to communicate well with each other, because if you don't communicate, then problems develop, okay? And in the types of relationship that we were talking about before, especially the last part in Sternberg's triangle when we talked about consummate love, which includes all kinds of things and has an eye on the long term, there's this melding that happens where people think that they're like one person, which, the society really does foster that. But then, they get into these different spats all the time because, the person should know something. You expect your partner to know this, especially if you've been with them for a long time. I expect that you would know this, and just because you've been in a relationship a long time does not mean that you can read each other's mind. So this is where communication comes in. So you have to communicate everything to the other person, okay? How you feel, what you're thinking, what your plans are, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you like, what you don't like, all of those kinds of things. Even if it's something like it seems trivial, it may end up not being trivial, so you have to talk it out, okay? So when you first start looking at different sorts of communication styles and beginning relationships, okay, you have to look at where it all starts. So back in the day, your mother or your grandmother time, people met through families or friends or communities or different organizations. There used to be like church dances, you could go to a dance and meet a nice girl or meet a nice boy, those kinds of things. Or, your family had, I know so-and-so's nephew, he's a good boy, go out with him. So today we have all kinds of things at our disposal. We have the internet. Yes, we still have those other things as well. Your grandparents might be telling you to check those things out. But we have a lot of online stuff and a lot of other ways to meet people that we didn't have before. Your book says 22% of straight couples and 70% of same-sex couples meet online. I think that that's even higher than what they say, and those are just respondents who are willing to say that that's what they did. So online dating offers a lot of different things, okay? First of all, it's a little safe, unless you decide, you meet someone for the first time and you're going to go hey, we're going to go meet this person, and they turn out to be a serial killer or some weirdo, So there's always that kind of danger if you follow up on it. But if you're just looking online and you don't intend on going out after 5 minutes to find Mr. or Ms. Right, you can basically vet the person, so you have access to a wider pool of individuals. You can talk about anything online, and it's safe, okay, because, maybe you don't have a picture up or something like that, or maybe you do, but you still have to be very, very careful, because like with social media, whatever it is, they can track you down pretty easily, and we have seen cases where that sort of thing has gone horribly wrong. And, you can take the guesswork out of who's going to be similar to you, have similar beliefs. You can find what you're looking for in a partner pretty easily. Maybe someone didn't want to disclose certain things. And it's pretty much, a lot bigger pool. But again, it does have disadvantages, like someone might be unwilling to share some things. Maybe they don't want to put their pictures up. Maybe you're meeting someone online, and maybe you're just texting back and forth and you don't really get to see with how they mean things, how they say things. Maybe you don't like their attitude once you meet them in person. So then there's still that push, too much elimination that's going on. And there might be a thing where there's, the progression of the relationship is different because, it would have taken a long time to unfold in discovering about that person might be more compressed and more rushed, and it doesn't take its natural evolutionary path in terms of self-disclosure, okay? So that's also very interesting. On slide 4, they look at, there's a real snapshot, some pie charts of where married couples meet. And that's kind of interesting to look at. So take a look at that. Makes great true false questions on a final. Also, another thing, the hookup. Okay. So hookups, which I don't have to tell you about, are like sexually motivated. Okay. So you also have, people hooking up, getting together for sexual activity to satisfy themselves sexually, whereas before you had a lot of prohibitions against that. Today it's much easier. And it also helps you delay marriage because, why get married when you can hook up, sort of thing. And it's just a lot easier for people today, okay? And maybe people hook up because, they don't want to get married. They want to commit to a long-term relationship. So you have to communicate that in advance, okay? So before, it's not like we didn't do those things back in the day. It just wasn't as easy or as blatant, let's just say it that way, as it is today. So in the 20s, cars and movie theaters. I remember an elderly friend of mine telling me that we got married at the height of the Depression. Everybody thought we were crazy. But there I was running off, and we had a rumble seat. A rumble seat is this little seat that popped up in the back of the car for that extra person. And there we were, just cuddling in the rumble seat, drinking our booze during Prohibition. They were really funny. And they had been married like 60-something years. They were really cool people. But elderly, but really daredevils for back in the day. In the 60s, of course, we had the sexual revolution, so we were just coming to terms with, sexuality should not be something that was so prohibitive as it was in the past, historically. So you had that, and then in the 2000s, we had premarital sex was just, widely accepted, where it had occurred before, and it had occurred quite widespread before, but now the difference was that people were talking about it, was depicted in different types of media and books and all that kinds of stuff. So there was a cultural shift in the acceptability of premarital sex, even though it had been happening a long time ago, and historically for a very long time. I mean, there is really nothing today. I know that your kids will think, oh my God, we are the shit when it comes to, excuse me, we know everything about sex, we invented sex. Your kids will be telling you that someday, trust me. But they're not doing anything different that hasn't been done all through time. Okay, if you look at some of the things that happened in the medieval era and in all the different eras, this stuff has been going on forever. So, don't think that you've invented sex, or that don't let your kids tell you that they've invented sex, okay? On slide 6, here's a chart of the percentage of the United States population that agree that premarital sex is not wrong at all. And as you can see, the acceptance has gone up every decade, okay? So what are some of the factors that people talk about when they talk about hooking up? Okay, what is the person's personality like? What do they do that's acceptable or not? And what is their perceived environmental system, okay? So I had a friend that she's Canadian, and she's Canadian, a woman who was, I would say that she was late 60s. She went to South Africa. We were in South Africa together, and she was touring as well, and she thought nothing of hookups. As a matter of fact, she belonged to this online network. And I remember her saying, oh, I'm going to meet this guy. He's, she was Jewish. She would say, he's a Jewish guy just like me, and we're going to talk about, difference in Judaism in South Africa and in the United States and Canada, because she was Canadian. And we were like, you're going to meet this stranger that you met online, like just yesterday, and you're going to go and meet this person in the town that we were in had the highest level of rape in the world. So we were pretty shocked when she said she was going to do that, but she thought nothing of it, and she said, oh, I do this all the time. And she had traveled the world all over, and we were like, oh, okay, can we have all your information so we can notify your next of kin? And she did. She went out, she had a good time, everything was fine, and it was kind of surprising given her age and given the place that we were in, an unknown country that had high crime rate and stuff like that, but She saw nothing wrong with that at all. So that's your perceived environmental system. We were talking about, like, oh, we're in a different country and things are different. And but this was her persistent behavior that she had done repeatedly, and she saw nothing wrong with it. So what are some of the benefits of it? Enjoy yourselves, sexual enjoyment, sexual fulfillment. You don't have to walk around all the time being frustrated. It gives you a feeling of being empowered and feeling of being attracted, that people like you and that they want to hook up with you. It's a way to meet friends. It's a way to meet friends and feel close to another person. And by and large, most people have a positive reaction. You have a 62% reaction of that things went along and it went fine. So you can't argue with that data. The costs, though, sometimes when things go south, they really go south. And you're talking about, some of the things where it becomes a dangerous situation, okay? Or that you could feel used, it's just temporary, there's no commitment, there's no involvement. You might be disappointed. And about 38% of the people had negative reactions about it. If you look at slide 8, we're looking at prediction of sexual hookups by first-year college women, different risk factors and protective factors. Those are really good things for you to take into consideration. It makes a nice essay question. So sharing your innermost thoughts and feelings, okay? So you have to feel really comfortable with a person to begin to disclose, okay? Because there's always that fear of rejection or, oh, they're going to think I'm a weirdo if I tell them this or something like that. And this is the first step toward intimacy, okay? So when you do disclose something that is very personal and the other person accepts it and accepts you for who you are, that really does strengthen the bond of intimacy, okay? And so intimacy with sex are two key ingredients in a good relationship, okay? So the fact of self-disclosure and then acceptance can be like a really powerful force in determining whether or not people stay together, okay? And so like anything else, when you communicate, honesty is the best policy, and it should be, honesty as you see it and honesty to the other person. If you're not honest with the other person, then that sets you up for later issues down the line, okay? It's also very important for you to be able to disclose to the partner that you're seeking to develop a relationship with, and it's good for your well-being and their well-being, because then they feel trusted too, like, oh, this person trusted me with something that was really important, and that's going to be key to the relationship. So in the forum, you might talk about how, self-disclosure really does help in relationships and what you think about that. Also, sharing your innermost thoughts and feelings helps with self-esteem, okay? Getting to know other people and they accept what you've said really helps bolster your own self-esteem. And so you don't want to give too much too fast. TMI, don't want to do that. But, it's take a slow, evolving sort of process type of thing that enables trust. And trust is really important. You have to be able to trust people in a relationship, because if you can't trust your partner, they're not going to be your partner for very long, because you're always going to be looking at ways that they might be violating that trust. And even the little things, once your trust has been violated, even the little things in a relationship will blow up to be like really big problems. So we really have to take care so that the relationship grows and grows together cyclically, okay, with a good exchange of positive informations. So you should look at your partner's needs and your needs and try and, mesh with those different things together. I'm going to stop here for now, and then we will make a part. What are we on? Part 1, 2, or 3? The next part 3, I think it is. Okay.